very quick introduction. My name is Laveena Iyer. I cover industry and policy developments in the tech and consumer goods sector for our clients at Economist Enterprise. We speak to everyone from academia to startups to corporates. And part of my job as a tech analyst on that side is to separate the hype from reality with emerging tech. So I did it with 5G, with metaverse, with AI, and now we're doing it with quantum. So the purpose over the next few days for all these sessions is to highlight startups and enterprises who are at the forefront of this technology, who are actually delivering impact, experimenting with quantum tech. One such enterprise is Q-CTRL. And Niall, perhaps you could start, kick us off by telling us what exactly you're doing at Q-CTRL, what are your key applications, and a little about what brought you to the Time magazine list early this year, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. It's great to meet you all. Thanks for having the time to listen to me. So at Q-CTRL, we make quantum technology useful, and we do that using software. And so for myself in Q-CTRL, really, it's my job to show our customers how. So I'm not the person who spends the time developing our products, but rather I work on proof of concept, proof of value projects with our customers or partners to highlight to them where the positive value, where the impact will come from. And so, it's this year we were on the one of the Time list of companies to watch for, and that actually followed from a demonstration that we had last year, which led to one of our products, Ironstone Opal, being on the Time magazine's top inventions of 2025. And so, yeah, that was the original the original award that then led on to the second one. And so, as I say, we're primarily a software company, where what we do is we make software that makes the underlying quantum hardware sing. And just on this stage, this time last year, our CEO, Mike, gave a demonstration of the first example of practical quantum advantage. And so what I mean by this is using a quantum technology to solve a real-world problem better than the best classical alternative. And that problem was navigation. So many of you may know that GPS jamming is an increasing threat that faces both militaries and also commercial aviation. We developed a sensor and a navigation system, so the software on top of that sensor that allows pilots to know where they are even when they're facing this threat to GPS. Now, what's been great is that we would have been happy with a single first demonstration of practical quantum advantage, but just 3 or 4 weeks ago, we did it again. This time, it was in the area of quantum computing. So again, as I say, our core competence is in making software that makes the underlying quantum hardware sing. We don't build quantum computers, but we partner with those who do. And so we've got a well-established relationship with IBM. And just a few weeks ago, we showed that using IBM's computers, along with the performance optimized using our software, we were able to solve a real-world problem faster by using that quantum technology than the best classical alternative.
Okay, so Ironstone Opal is the navigation system that brought you a lot of fame. But if you look at your roster of products, there are several applications for the military side and then for enterprises in general across industry. Could you walk us through some of the military applications? How did you come up with it? How did you identify the use case?
Yeah, of course. So firstly, the way I'll answer this question is in 2 parts. As I said, we have a navigation solution, and we also make quantum hardware work better in computing. So with navigation, unfortunately, militaries will necessarily be operating in areas of GPS denial. This will mean that those operators find it difficult to know where they are. And so, of course, there is a strong incentive for them to adopt alternative navigation systems, such as our own, to enable them to know where they are when they're conducting those operations. And so now this is really what a lot of our core focus is in turning that initial demonstration last year into a product, Ironstone Opal. And we've now made the first commercial sale of that system. And in parallel, we're working with advanced manufacturers to turn this into a production level capability. In terms of quantum computing, there is also a near-term opportunity for defense. And just 1 or 2 weeks ago, myself and some of my team, we released a quantum computing for defense white paper. And so this highlighted some of these near-term opportunities where leveraging quantum computing in the area of optimization will enable defense users to conduct their operations optimally. So two of the key use cases that we focused on was convoy routing. We can imagine that we've seen some conflicts that didn't quite go the way that people intended because the supply chains weren't managed in a way that they could have been. And so what we were showing is that as early as 2027, quantum computers will be able to join in that workflow to allow those kind of supply chain management issues to be optimized. Another was in resource allocation. So we can imagine that defense operators have limited equipment, and they want to use that maximally. And so if they want to protect themselves from external threats, they may only have several defensive aids in order to do so. And we were showing how quantum computing, again, can solve exactly those types of problems to maximize the safety of all teams involved.
And on the enterprise side, not just the applications, but I'm curious to know, what do your conversations go like with entities who probably didn't know they could use quantum tech for a particular workflow? What are, of course, some of the positive reactions, but also what are some of the reservations that you face when you're speaking with clients?
Yeah, so again, what I'll do is I'll first answer in sensing, where it's a bit more simple that way. I think what's great is that we've been able to demonstrate this utility. And so we're now at this stage of rushing to market ultimately. And so we have a strategic partnership with Airbus, where we're looking to integrate quantum navigation systems for commercial aviation. So I think that's a bit of a simpler answer because the timeframes are a bit more obvious. With quantum computing, the exact timeframes to true commercial utility are a bit murkier. It's still a bit difficult to say exactly when that will land. And so here, the three areas that I would say we see most value in the near term are chemistry. That demonstration that I talked about a few weeks ago, that we did a few weeks ago of practical quantum advantage in computing, was on a problem that's related to chemistry. And so there we would be working with people who want to, say, design new battery technology or maybe new drug discovery also. Another area outside of chemistry that we think is particularly interesting is financial services. This could be, for example, pricing how much an asset is actually worth based on an unknown future. And here we would work with the likes of banks to show how through using quantum computing, they can get better understanding of what those prices could and should be. And then quite a broad area, what I was talking about before for defense, that would all fit into the area of optimization. And so you note that I talked about supply chain management or scheduling for resource allocation and for planning, respectively. Now, there are lots of enterprises who face very similar problems. So basically there we work with a whole host of different, typically large organizations who have these complex supply chains that they would like to manage or complex workflows that they would like to run optimally. So the reservation question it's a very good one. As I started the answer, I said the timeframes for true commercial utility are quite difficult to know for sure. And so what we've seen is, I guess we see broadly three categories of people. The first adopters. So there are teams out there in enterprise who have got dedicated teams of quantum professionals who spend the full day working out where that business will find the benefit of quantum computing. There's also the fast followers who see some of the great results from those teams, and they then try to work with the likes of ourselves to understand, do we need to start playing that catch-up game? And then where I'd say there is still a large contingent, though, is with people who have an interest but haven't yet started a specific exploration themselves.
Okay. Well, if you're just a quick note for those of you in the audience, if you are attending day 2 tomorrow, we do have a couple of panels where we are speaking to some of the industrial end users that you mentioned. So there are use cases from the FMCG sector, from the pharmaceuticals, drug discovery side, to just talk about the journey. While Niall is talking about it from the tech provider side, it's interesting to know how the conversation works in boardrooms and within corporates. And that's actually my next question. corporate leaders today are probably thinking about competing priorities. There's cybersecurity, there's artificial intelligence, there's probably industry-specific competitive strengths that they need to think about. What would you say to a board that's contemplating investing in quantum but is thinking, is it too early? Do I need to think about this now? What are the risks of not acting now?
Yeah, I guess, frankly, the answer would be it quite possibly is quite early to adopt quantum computing, because in the near term, quantum computers are going to be good at solving specific types of problems. What I would then ask is, are you sure that that's not you? And so I think the real risk is that, as I say, we have almost these three categories of people where there are those who are really at the forefront, identifying, creating, and adopting these novel solutions, leveraging quantum technology to improve their workflows. And so they will be the first people to reap the benefits. And so what I would say to those board members is that, sure, we can't say for certain right now that in the next 5 years, let's say, that you would be facing those, seeing those benefits. But I think if you're not going to do that exploration piece, then we know that you won't be leveraging those benefits. And it's quite possible that your competitors will. And so then with that, they will also have the competitive advantage that goes with it. And so what we actually have is, me and my team run quite a lot of proof of concept, proof of value projects for, I give that, they are two separate ideas. So a proof of concept is just saying you can use a quantum computer to solve a problem. I think we're beyond that now. It's rather we need a proof of value of not only can we solve that problem, but this is the solution that you should be looking to integrate in your workflows. And if you're not looking at doing that integration now, then it will be delayed. Your access to that opportunity will be delayed. And so when we run those kind of activities as well, what we find is that, quantum's hard. It's not that large of a word in letters, but I think it's a very big word in impact because it sounds so abstract and so difficult to grapple with. But one of the big products I almost see really that when we run these proof of value projects isn't really necessarily the specific results to the specific problems that we're investigating. I think most companies are quite aware that the first thing you look at probably isn't going to be the thing that's going to change the bottom line. But the thing that they all say is that the education is what they find really important. They know that competitors have teams of experts, and we actually have we call it like Duolingo for quantum computing. So it's like an app-based educational software that allows very visual, very interactive, and allows teams to get up to speed with this otherwise quite intimidating technology. And so, yeah, I'd say through it may not be the time for you to do that adoption, but I think if you're not really making that exploration to know that it's not the case, I think you are taking quite the business risk about allowing your competitors to gain an advantage over you.
So if we could, I know we talked about some examples during our chat earlier, but if we could zero in on any one entity, perhaps your experience with Airbus or any other organization without having to name them, what was your framework going about on identifying the use case, adopting it, and what is the metric of success in terms of quantum tech for you? The company is probably looking at CapEx and bottom line, but on your side, how do you define it?
Yeah, this is really, really great question. So, for instance, we worked with Mazda, and one of the things that we've been interested in is quantum machine learning. So I think we just had a great presentation exactly highlighting how the complexity associated with quantum computers allows you to learn patterns easier than you could do using the normal machine learning that we see in the news every day. And so one of the things that Mazda has to do is they need to run very complicated design software to understand how strong one of their beams are. They don't want to put too much material and make it very heavy, very expensive, but nor do they want to sacrifice safety. And so what we did was we worked with them we started off with a few different potential use cases. And we do this quite often where we have an initial stage where we go with a few areas of interest and we say, yep, number 1 and 2 aren't the best for the near term, but number 3, I think that's worth a bit more investigation. And what we did is we highlighted, well, how can we use just using a very expensive software suite to get a few data points? Can we now use a quantum computer to learn how that process works and leverage that as a cheap surrogate so we can minimize the number of very computationally expensive runs? And so, yeah, they're as I said, fully aware that from the enterprise side, the metrics are all about the bottom line, ultimately. Frankly, same for us. So we are, our strategy is to use quantum sensing for revenue in the near term. And then that will sort of give us the buffer with the unknown timeframes to commercial adoption for quantum computing. But so really the thing that we're looking for, as I say, we said, let's not look at problem 1 and 2. That's a complete waste of our time to try solving problems that aren't of genuine interest to businesses. So the metric we're looking for is partners that we'll be able to make great commercial relationships with going forward.
Excellent. I think we're almost at time, but I would encourage you to track the roadmap at Q-Control to see some of the other industry applications. I know I definitely will be. Thank you so much, Niall.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.